Welcome to Cultivated Live for Thursday, September 5th. I am Jay Rosenthal. I'm the co-founder of Cultivated Media, the host of this program, Cultivated Live. And since we launched Cultivated way back in November of 2023, seems like a long time ago, our goal at Cultivated has been to be cannabis industry first, providing you with the most important, insightful, useful, and timely information every single day. We do that through our daily newsletter, Cultivated Daily. We do that through this daily live stream, Cultivated Live. We would love if you followed us on LinkedIn, subscribe to us on YouTube, but more importantly, get our newsletter in your inbox every single day. You can find it at cultivated.news. That's how to find our newsletter. You can subscribe there. On Thursdays, we talk shop, quite literally, with Krista Raymer. She is the founder and CEO of Vetrina. She is the foremost expert in cannabis retail. Vetrina and the Vetrinas are the foremost cannabis retail consultancy. Krista, welcome.
Jay, it's nice to be back. We were both on holiday.
I know, we were both on holiday. We were gallivanting, I would even say.
Whoa.
Not together, but gallivanting.
Together would have been interesting.
Weird thing to do. We could have filmed the whole thing. I will say though, in Venice and a couple of other cities in Italy, I saw a vending machine which had like some cigarette stuff, some other stuff, and then it looked like it said cannabis. It doesn't. I mean, it does. It says like cannabis, which I think is like hemp pre-rolls that some people sell from like vending machines behind like a brick wall. Did you see that in your gallivanting?
No, cannabis in Ireland is not so much a thing. It definitely doesn't have a lot of street presence, that's for sure. There were some accessory shops and that kind of thing, but if you were looking to buy weed, you were needing to have a connection.
Yeah, and I was in Italy where it's like very forbidden. I mean, people I know there do smoke weed, but like it's not as present. I mean, obviously it's all wine. Wine culture is the thing. In Paris, I will say we spent some time in Paris. You could smell it more readily, I would say. Like a couple times we walked by it, that it felt like home. But it's just not there yet. Certainly, you were in Ireland. Like it's not there.
No, it's different. It's funny. It's like once you remove yourself from the everyday that we are now used to, you're like, oh, this is what it was like. And it wasn't that long ago, really, that it was like this. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know if it'll ever be like it is here, there. That's a maybe a bridge too far, but it is interesting to sort of see the thing. I love being in Europe, of course, right? I would love to be in Europe with easy access to gummies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wish it was easier to travel with gummies for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to travel with gummies, but
yeah, I
don't listen.
Krista just got stopped at every border she's ever going to cross again. Krista, can we talk shop for a second, or not for more than a second? You posted something on LinkedIn yesterday. It says one day ago, so yesterday. And then I need some definitions before I can understand the rest of what you wrote. So I'm very basic at this. Retail efficiency is more than payroll percentage. Tell me what payroll percentage is so I can understand retail efficiency.
Yeah, so payroll percentage is going to look at your payroll costs relevant or in reference to your revenue. So what we want to understand is how much does our payroll take as a reflection of our overall revenue. Basically, it's an efficiency measurement. The difficulty with payroll percentage is obviously as the business becomes larger or you're generating more volume in a store, it's much easier to bring down that payroll percentage. In cannabis, we typically see payroll percentages somewhere between kind of like 8 and maybe 18%. 18% would be on a low volume store and 8% would be on a high volume store. So it's where you can see and what capabilities you can build into the business. Payroll percentage is also going to depend on how you bank salaries within the business to different locations.
I understand. I think I understand. And you gave you talked about Starbucks, which is everybody's favorite sort of retail model to talk about because it's super present in people's lives and people sort of get it. Talk a little bit about that example and how it sort of the insights you pulled.
Yeah. So what's really interesting is everybody's talking about this transition with the CEO of Starbucks and what has gone on in that business. And obviously, over the last 10 years, they've seen an incredible amount of competition come in and start to try and compete for the customer that they were servicing, basically a premium coffee customer. Originally, when Starbucks was developing their model, it was all about hot drinks, and then they introduced cold drinks. The problem with cold drinks is that they are obviously more expensive, so they seem attractive on a P&L, but they also are very inefficient to make. And so the introduction of cold drinks would have been an effort potentially to attract more customers or create an increase in the frequency of purchase. So maybe in the morning you get a hot drink and in the afternoon you get a cold drink. Great on concept. In practicality, when it exploded within the environments, you can now go to a Starbucks, or like a couple weeks ago, you could go to a Starbucks and find on most of the posters in store or like signage in store would be for cold drinks. At the drive-through would be for cold drinks as well. And also in the app, a lot of promotion around cold drinks. The problem with that is that they increase the frequency of cold drinks to exceed hot drinks. And so now you've changed the operating model for which these stores were potentially built for. They became very inefficient. Lines and waits at Starbucks have increased incrementally over that period. And so now you have an environment that isn't really generating the payroll efficiency that you're wanting to. Has nothing to do with the way that the team has been scheduled, has everything to do with the way that we've manipulated or like influenced the customer into purchasing.
So it's not just the store has got the payroll has skyrocketed. It's actually reverse. It's actually the store has gotten more inefficient, less efficient. Yeah. And how does that relate to like in a cannabis operation? Like it's like you can look at the payroll percentage, but you have to look at it, as often as the case when you come on, you have to look at a more full picture about what else is happening in the store.
Yeah, like we can look at a payroll percentage as a way to cut, for example, schedules and understand where we might be able to adjust somebody's independent schedule, like a staff shift, say, for example, or store hours. But the reality is, if you want to adjust for payroll percentage, there's usually like 100 steps that can happen before you get to the point of adjusting a team's schedule. And that likely is in adjusting how the store is operating first as a way to bring down required hours to service the customer. At the end of the day, this environment is here to service customers. We need to be customer first. And that potentially, in trying to reach more customers, made Starbucks almost less customer centric because we were creating longer wait times and an inefficient environment for the customer. So in this example, the real world application within cannabis is when retailers put together things like 10 pre-rolls for $100 or something. And the reality of that is the budtender now has to manage the choices of those 10 different pre-rolls and work with the customer, and it became an inefficient sale. So on paper, maybe it looks like a really attractive sale, but in actuality, when it comes to operating, if you watch it happen on the sales floor, it's a very inefficient transaction. Now, efficiency isn't the only thing, but like we haven't supported the team on how to make that transaction happen easier. So unless those pre-rolls are maybe like pre-bundled or are at the right place in the physical environment, like there are 5 other steps before we just go after and look at the deal and say it's inefficient. It's like, well, what have we done to support the team to facilitate the environment in an efficient way before we try and have like an adjustment around scheduling hours? Can we help to make the environment more efficient so that the scheduling impact isn't felt the same way, if that makes sense?
It does, especially as it relates to cold beverages and Starbucks, because I think everybody can relate that Starbucks is, and I'm not trying, like I don't go a lot, but certainly my teenage daughter does, and she only gets, I don't even know, you're going to know the drink better, but like a cold matcha latte. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. Anyway, that's what all the kids are drinking, but it takes forever.
Okay, great.
And we're ordering hot coffee. It's like, that is inefficient even as a unit of people buying something, but you can imagine on the staffing level that it, making a cold matcha latte takes this much time, whereas creating a small coffee is this, right? Like it's a whole different ball game. And I think you can like not cut and paste that into a cannabis store, but if you're creating inefficient ways to sell cannabis, it becomes a real tax on your payroll percentage, not to the fault of like the team or even bloated payrolls. It's just an inefficient way to do business.
Yeah, and like you created the SKU. It's like, so also how are we prompting the customer? I think that for me, the like goal or the thing in there is like, what is our thresholds in how we want customers to purchase? That drink that your daughter purchases might be a very profitable drink on paper, but it isn't profitable when 70% of the customers are purchasing it. It's only profitable when a small group of people and then everybody else is still buying regular coffees, and you can serve the regular coffees, and then you got a couple of these like larger cold drink orders to build. And that is like when I look at a cannabis environment and I'm looking at what's going on in store, thinking a lot about things like that is, how are the teams scheduling to service the customer, and have we built something that is unintentionally bogging them down? And there are a number of things right now within the technology. Like, I think some of the feedback that we hear all the time is like the technology makes the transaction slower, because it's like a little bit clunky or things aren't scanning correctly. That could be a little bit of the technology, and it's a lot more likely that it has something to do with the way that the products are built and the product masters in the POS.
Yeah.
And so if you want to solve a discount and promotion scanning problem, you actually have to solve for the product master problem. And like, that's getting into the root cause of saying, okay, well, we can't just get the team to say we need the team to do 4-minute transactions. We actually have to be like, well, what is taking the team past a 4-minute transaction? And when do we want that to be okay? And when do we not want that to be okay? And is there something that's consistent within those that is driving the time of the transaction?
Yeah. I think a lot, often when you come on, one, it's describing unique, like describing retail 101 to me, which I am eternally grateful for. And it makes me a smarter cannabis person. But also, if you are in retail, it is 3-dimensional chess. Like, you can do one thing. This is going to be a much more profitable sale from revenue perspective. But if it takes 2 hours to get to that really profitable thing, like, you need to think about the cost implications on the payroll side as well, and how much staff time it takes, which I think is why we want you on, to help educate us, but also retailers who are in the business. We actually have a comment. Can I show you? Sabrina, absolutely. Dispensaries with customized websites allow customers to start planning their shopping experiences before arriving at the store. Correct. They do, I would imagine. And that is a big part of it too, right? Like how, the online and real world, not vibe, but coordination between the store.
Yeah, I mean, Starbucks is another really good example of this. Is like when they introduced the app and they only had a certain percentage of customers purchasing on the app. If you had already paid for your drink, your ticket becomes escalated in the ticket line. Meaning, like, there could be a lineup of people standing at the POS, but because you've already transacted, your drink gets inserted in the like barista flow. And that's something that also we have to take into consideration when we build online transactions and have customers click and collect and do online orders, is like, how do we manage that flow internally so that the customer in store isn't standing there being like, what am I waiting for? But the customer online is coming in and their order is ready and the expectations have been set reasonably. And that is also not an easy thing to do. So making the website super shoppable, clear and easy to understand, making it so that there aren't going to be surprises, and that the inventory in store is accurate, so that if a customer selects a product, it's actually going to be there when they go to pick it up, are all really important parts of this entire process. It doesn't only live on the sales floor, because the customer's experience starts before the sales floor.
Yeah. Krista, as always, thank you for your time today to talk shop. We appreciate you. We appreciate the team. We appreciate your expertise. Now, I am never going to look at my Starbucks experience the same way, but I am going to order the drinks that take the absolute longest to get made. I'm going to like
Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy.
I'm never that guy. I never. I would like Madagascar cinnamon, please. No, I'm never that guy. But I appreciate that, and it makes me understand cannabis retail a lot better when you make it simple for people like me. So, Krista, thanks for your time today. That is it for today's show. That has been Cultivated Live. Join us tomorrow. We have a special guest and a reoccurring series, but you have to tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern to see it. It's something we're going to do every Friday, but you have to tune in. That's just part of the deal. You got to be surprised tomorrow with everybody else, but you won't want to miss it. I assure you. My name is Jay. I'm the co-founder of Cultivated Media, the host of this program, Cultivated Live. Join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern right here on our LinkedIn and YouTube channels. And remember, buy cannabis at your local dispensary and buy the drinks that take the longest at Starbucks just so we can have a reference point for next week. Krista, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jay.